Ngā mihi nui ki a koutou tēnei te mihi o te wā. I'm Angie Warren-Clark, the Chair of the Social Services Select Committee, and we are here hearing from the accessibility legislation. Today we have a very small submissions, number of submissions just for all by Zoom today. So we have 2 sign language interpreters to support us here today. Thank you both. And I'll start off with a descriptor, and if we can have the members from the submitters let into the room. And I'll start with a description of myself. So I am Angie Warren-Clark. I'm a Labour List MP based in the Bay of Plenty. I'm the Chair of the Social Services Select Committee. Today I am wearing blue and pink polka dots. I have blonde hair, blue eyes, and I'm sitting in the Women's Select Committee room. Behind me is a very large camellia. Ngā mihi nui. If we can go to Ricardo, Teresa, and then Penny.
Kia ora, my name is Ricardo Menendez. I'm a Green List MP based in Tamaki Makaurau. I am in my living room, wearing a plaid shirt and with nice natural sunlight coming from the room. Kia ora.
Kia ora.
Oh, kia ora. My name is Teresa Ngobi. I'm the Labour MP for the Ōtaki electorate. I am in my kitchen, and I have my beautiful Ōtaki top on, and really keen to hear your submissions today.
Kia ora, I'm Penny Simmons, National MP for Invercargill, and I am down in our farm in Maple Bush, and there's a view of our farm outside my window. I have blonde hair and I'm wearing a navy top.
Thank you everyone for your introductions. So shall we have the first submitter, Nicky Louis by Zoom.
Nicky's in the room.
We're just waiting for, can you hear us, Nicky?
Sorry, just trying to find the right mouse. I've got a number of machines.
Sure, just take your time, Nicky.
Sure. I thank you for seeing me, first of all of you. Thank you for seeing me this morning. And you'll be happy to hear I'm keeping my message short so you can actually get things done. The proposed bill, great idea, wonderful start, but it's the beginning of a very long journey. And I stand open to correction, but when I read the bill, it seems to be about the rules about setting up a committee to advise Parliament. So that seems to me a bit like setting up a meeting to discuss setting up a meeting. There's no consequences, there's no comeback to any inaction on anybody's part. And the bill in its current form is just a box-ticking exercise, from what I can see. And the committee that's going to advise the government or the Parliament will have limited powers. They essentially a dog with no teeth. They don't address the rights, standards, and the timeframes. So the bill, although it says something, it doesn't say enough. There are some practical considerations that also have to be taken into account, like asking the experts. Ask the people who actually know. There's no point in asking a blind person what a deaf person would need in a bathroom. So there's not really, you need to speak to the people who know. There's also staying corrected in my thinking that the review is going to take place in 5 years, and instead of 3, which was a bit strange. And claiming that accessibility, if you want to be able to claim that you're accessible, you have got to actually, you've got to put more than a ramp in a building or a rail on the hand next to the toilet, or you can see where my problems lie. To my mind, the bill should be deferred, and until the disabled people themselves have got a voice, and the committee has some teeth, and it's not just an advisory role. Ideally, the committee should also be independent of the government, so they can actually walk their talk. And that is me for this morning.
Thank you, Nicky. A really good submission, quite similar to what we have heard from a number of people. Now we have the first question. We have 10 minutes, so we've got a bit of time for questions. So we have the first question from Teresa.
Oh, thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for your submission, Nicky. And like the Chair said, it is very similar to what we're hearing. I heard at the start you say that, well, at the end you asked to defer it until, I think your words were it had some teeth, but at the start you did say it was a good start. I hear what you're saying around you're suggesting that it has more teeth. I have heard from other submitters around the Whaikaha, or the Ministry for Disabilities model, and how that's sort of working in terms of engagement, if that's what you're meaning. So my question is, do you think that that's a model that if we were to continue to go ahead with this bill that we could incorporate, given that it was a good start, if that makes sense?
Yeah, it does make sense. I think because it was a good start, it's showing the willingness to actually come to the party and do something. So that's good. But I don't know, the bill in its current form looks to me very much like a rush job, like it was done in a hurry as a response to something else. So I don't feel that it was right, and I do think that their model could be incorporated. It would definitely solve some of the problems.
Thank you. I have a question. So this is Angie speaking. So one of your comments was around the committee makeup needs to have people, disabled people in it. The bill actually describes the makeup of the membership. Have you got any comment around a better way that we could do that, or a preferred way that we might perhaps describe the committee members?
I don't think they necessarily have to be disabled people, but I do think they have to have a vested interest. So whether you're asking somebody who's an experienced carer, an experienced nurse, somebody who has dealt with that, somebody who has, no, maybe not even that, maybe people that actually care for disabled people who live with them, their families, the people in their families that care for them, people who know. I heard an interesting comment last week. Somebody said to me that she didn't realize how bad it was for disabled people in Wellington, which is not great, but she didn't realize how bad it was until she actually had her niece come and live with her.
Right.
And she had to take her niece in a wheelchair and navigate pavements, parking bays that were too short. People think about the side of the parking bays. Yes, you do need a wider bay because you need to be able to open the door fully, and you need to not hit the other cars. But by the same token, somebody in a wheelchair could very possibly, if they've used a mobility van, for instance, would not be actually using, and I'm waving my hands around, sorry, would not actually be going out of the side of the car, they'd be going out of the back. And the mobility vans have a ramp that goes down. You use a power chair, you're reversing back down the ramp into the middle of the road.
Right, yes.
It's not a good thing at all. It's quite dangerous for everybody, the passengers, the person in the wheelchair, obviously, and the cars.
So, so just supplementary to that question, one of the themes that I'm hearing from some submitters is people with lived experience are valuable on the committee. But there is also a contrary view that says and other people have said very clearly that disabled people can represent themselves and those with lived experience, family members, etc. as well. Do you have a view on that?
I do feel that the family members are actually very valuable, and sometimes they see things that the person with the disability might not necessarily be able to express. So they would see things and they would see potential problems and solve them before the person who's disabled would. That's why I say it doesn't necessarily have to be a disabled person on the committee. And in fact, it would be difficult to select a disabled person on the committee. You would be looking at which disability do you actually pick. Do you pick somebody in a wheelchair? Do you pick somebody who's blind, somebody who's deaf, somebody? It's a bit of a minefield.
Right. And just a final question. In your view, should the committee members be paid or reimbursed?
I think paid would be good.
Right. Thank you for that. We've come to the end of the time unless any other members have questions. No? Okay. Look, thanks very much, Nicky, for submitting. And it's really important that we hear all voices in regards to this. So you have a good rest of your day, and we will.
Thank you, and you too.
We look forward to hearing from you in another time, perhaps. Thank you.
I'm sure you will. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Now, if we could please have Carina Duke from Living Street's Aotearoa.
Hi, how are you?
And can we have the other interpreter pinned, please?
Right, we do have, thank you. We've got the other interpreter in. Thank you. Carina, are you there? I can see your screen. We can't see you though. Is that intentional?
No, it's not. I'll just but also I've got a different laptop and I'm
Right.
not sure. Does that make a difference now? Yes, it
Yes.
does.
Yes,
Perfect.
it certainly does. Thank you, Carina. So just as we do for all introductions, I'm Angie Warren-Clark. I'm the chair. Currently, I am sitting in the select committee room. I have blonde hair. I've got pink. Yes, they are pink and blue polka dots, or pink polka dots on a blue background. And I am the Labour List MP based in the Bay of Plenty. If we could do a quick round, start with Ricardo and then move round. Thank you.
Kia ora, Carina. My name is Ricardo Menendez. I'm a Green List MP based in Tamaki Makaurau. I am in my living room with a blurred background, wearing a yellow and black plate shirt, and I've got short, dark brown hair.
We'll go Penny.
Kia ora, Carina. I am the National MP for Invercargill, and I am on our farm at Maple Bush, just out of Invercargill, and have a blurred background of our farm outside. I am wearing a dark blue top and have long blonde hair.
Thank you. Oh, Teresa, sorry.
It's okay. Kia ora, Carina. My name is Teresa Ngobi. I am the Labour MP for the Otaki electorate. I'm sitting in my kitchen and live-in, and I'm wearing a beige jacket with a really cool Otaki top on. I have glasses, and I have brown skin and long brown hair.
Thank you. And Helen.
Kia ora, I'm Helen White. I am the Labour-list MP based in Auckland Central. I am actually in the park outside my office, and I have a turquoise dress on and blonde hair.
Thank you. All right. Thank you, Carina, for the submission on behalf of Living Streets Aotearoa. Please consider your submission as read, and a good submission. Thank you. Really good detail in there. We have 15 minutes with you, so if you'd like to speak to your submission and then leave some time for questions. Thank you. We're in your hands.
Thank you. So as you'll know from our introduction, that Living Streets are a group that promote and walkable environments for whatever purpose it be, whether it be for transportation, sport, leisure, health and exercise. So from our perspective, you know, we're really great to see that this is coming through, a bill that gives equality and access to everyone. We have the concerns around the way that the bill will be enforced or regulated. So for us, we work in an environment, mainly the outdoors, but we do have thoughts about the access to buildings and public spaces. But for us, there's a lot of guidance already there. A lot of it is government department guidance for the pedestrian environment that has resulted in an infrastructure that isn't always accessible to everyone. So from our perspective, you know, great to have all this going through, but we'd really like to see some enforcement. We'd love to see mandatory standards. We'd love to see a lot of the guidance and best practice that currently exists actually being used and being adhered to, but also to come under that mandatory. For us, it's, you know, been a lot of departments that we work with Wakakato and others, you know, there's a willingness there to have environments that are fully accessible to everyone. And it's not just people who have an obvious impairment, it's those that you can't see, the cognitive impairments as well. And at some stage in our lives, there'll be environmental situations that give us all an impairment, you know, for children getting across the main road, for an older person, the ability to cross a busy street without any controls. So from our perspective, it would be really good to see that there is some sort of mandatory regulatory enforcement to this, that there's an update to standards. We look at the likes of New Zealand Standard 4121 that was last updated in 2001. It's been a long time that there's a lot missing in that standard. It hasn't got the flexibility, it hasn't updated with time. One of the other areas that was mentioned within the bill was not getting prescriptive. If you just focus on outcomes measures, there needs to be some sort of degree of documentation that can guide how to achieve that. And I think there needs to be a mix of both, that you can't just say, okay, this is what we want to achieve. Any designer or builder will take the easy way, and also how they interpret the outcome by design is very different. It's inconsistent. So from our perspective with Living Streets, we'd love to see better standards, better best practice, better compliance, and some sort of regulatory system that actually allows people to make complaints, to raise issues, but also in the way that those issues are addressed and the way that the public are aware of them, and the way that the standards can change to allow for future innovation. So thank you.
Great, thank you, Carina. I really appreciate your submission. I think we'll all have a number of questions for you. We'll start with Teresa and then move on to Penny. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Chair, and thank you so much for your submission. It was a really, really good submission, both written and oral. And I really liked the way you acknowledged that not all disabilities are you can physically see them. So thank you for that. My question is around, you mentioned using or being able to incorporate guidance or best practice that's already out there, already being used, I think you said, and you talked about some, you know, making sure that there's good compliance, you know, that issues are addressed. I guess my question is, do you have any examples of like that guidance around best practice? I know you mentioned waka kotahi and needing to I guess have another look at that and be updated. But have you got any examples of what works really, really well in terms of that guidance, compliance structure for people with whakaha?
Yeah, so we've got the Pedestrian Network Guide, which is in the process of being updated, which was the Pedestrian Planning and Design Guide. There's some really good stuff in that, but often it gets ignored, or the acceptable solutions such as a footpath width, taking it down to 1.2 rather than sticking with 1.8 as a minimum. And I know in some cities, Wellington in particular, it can be a challenge. But, you know, there's not really a reason with an eroding environment that the pedestrian who's the most vulnerable always has to be the one dealing with the compromises. So we've got RTS 14, which is a road and transport series that guides for blind and vision impairment. And just for clarity, I am an orientation and mobility instructor working with people who are blind, deaf, blind and low vision in their mobility. So, you know, it's how that is understood and how that is applied as well. And often we end up with an intersection with a radii that is so poor for pedestrians that the tactile tiles go in a very unusual way, and it makes it really hard for people to actually understand and interpret the intersection. When do I cross? Where am I crossing? Am I stopping midway? Am I continuing? So while this guidance is there, it's how it's applied and also how it's adhered to. So I think there needs to be more turning best practice into mandatory guides.
Great, thank you. Penny.
Thank you, and Carina, thank you very much for a very readable submission, and lovely to see solutions as well. Carina, I like your thinking that a mixture of outcomes and prescriptive might best serve. I noted that you said that you felt that it needed to be inclusive of more government departments and then possibly the private sector. Do you see it as a staged process rather than trying to do everything at once?
I think for such a change, I think we have to have a staged process, but there's no reason why the public can't be included from the beginning. We need to access buildings, we need to access government buildings as well as departments, local authorities. So I think a staged, but with an actual date that makes it realistic. I think if you set the bar too far out, then it's still allowing for a lot of new builds. And I'm based here in Christchurch, and we have a lot of new building and a lot of new infrastructure. Not all of it is accessible. And I think, you know, when you look at the age that a building gets to before you make major changes to it, we will end up with a lot of public access spaces that are not fully inclusive.
If you're finished, Penny, I have a couple of questions, if that's all right. Okay, so I'm interested in this regulator idea that you've put in your submission, and I'm hoping if you could expand a little bit around that. So regulator versus, and then the disputes resolution model that you talk about. So do you see the regulator then flowing into a disputes? But yeah, if you can just sort of tease that out a little bit, that would be really helpful.
Yeah, I guess it's very similar to the way that people take determinations out currently with building issues, that there would be someone that would be making the decision, someone that you could send these issues on to, that would be making decisions about how to progress from there. I think if we just raise issues and they go to a committee and they sit there,
yes,
it doesn't assist the process with making changes, with making developments, with learnings being known, but also those that raise the issues having a process that they know will be adhered to.
And so does that also build into, you're talking about a barrier notification system. Do you see that sitting within that framework as well? Is that how, or would you see that sitting separate?
I think the barrier notification, it depends on how the issues are raised and if they're going to the committee or if they're going to a regulator in the first instance. It, again, similar to the determinations that, you know, where do they sit? Which department do they sit with? Where are people going to be able to access those to see that there has been progress and to see that their issues are being taken seriously? So yeah, I'm not quite sure how that, I guess that's up to the committee and whoever would be appointed as a regulator to then determine the best way for that, but it needs to be accessible to the public.
And so part of our system that we are setting up is around a report back in Parliament. So perhaps it could be incorporated in there that a barrier register is, reported on perhaps. So for example, 3,000 people have notified, 1,700 barriers that exist. Of those barriers, there are 70 themes. Of those themes, there are this, and they have been responded to in this manner. Do you think that would be useful, or do you think it needs to have some more teeth to it? I'm just quite interested in the idea as an opportunity, I guess, to help raise awareness and change things.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I can use the example of the e-scooters that are on the footpath, either parked, laying down, blocking, as well as the speed, and that's a constant issue for most pedestrians, and particularly the ones I work with. So if there was a better way to record that, that currently just sits with the companies. If you contact a local authority, they put you onto the company, so they don't take records, they don't keep a note of what the issue was, where it was.
Right.
Also, some of the incident data reporting, if it sits on CAS, if it sits on ACC, if it's involving a vehicle, if it's a pedestrian versus vehicle. So yeah, there needs to be some way of categorising that makes sense to everyone, but also can provide solutions and lead to change. Yeah,
so it's not just a list of the problems, it's also some kind of proactive change you're looking to see.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really useful. Thank you. I really appreciate you putting that in there. I think that's a really useful suggestion. Now, has any other member got a question? We are at time, but I feel like we've got a little bit of leeway in the agenda today. No, it appears everyone is done, Carina, but I really want to thank you for the submission. Very, very useful, and reminded me of the time when I was, because of living streets, Aotearoa, when I had a pushchair and pushing my daughter everywhere, and how complex that was, never mind having a disability as well on top of that. So thank you for the submission, really appreciate it. Hope you have a good rest of your day.
Great. Thank you for your time.
Ka kite.
Bye.
Now, the next submitter is Sheryl Welby.
Sorry, Madam Chair, that's the Disabled Persons Organisations Coalition.
Oh, sorry. Got that in the wrong order there. Thank you. Disabled People's Organisation Coalition by Zoom. Thank you for coming in. So I'm Angie Warren-Clark. I am the chair of the Social Services Select Committee. I'm in the Select Committee room today. I am wearing pink polka dots with a blue background. I have a very large camellia plant flower behind me. I have blonde hair, blue eyes, glasses, and my background is not greyed out. So we'll start with just an introduction from Ricardo, and then we'll go Penny, then Teresa, and then Helen, please.
Madam Chair, it's Jonathan. Those of us who are responsible submitters have been online for a while, and we've heard you describe yourselves. Just tell us who's in the room, please.
There are also a number of people who are watching by Zoom, in Facebook. So do understand that and appreciate that you have, but other members are participating remotely as well. So we've undertaken to make, you will have the same amount of time. We don't start the clock until we've finished our introductions. Apologies, Jonathan. Ricardo.
Kia ora koutou. My name is Ricardo. I'm based in Tamaki, Makaurau. I'm in my living room with a blurred background, wearing a black and yellow plaid shirt, and I've got short brown hair.
Kia ora, I am Penny Simmons, National MP for Invercargill. I'm based at my farm in Maple Bush, and there is a blurred view of my farm in the background, and I have long blonde hair.
Kia ora, my name is Teresa Ingleby. I am the Labour MP for the Ōtaki electorate. I am in my kitchen in Levin. I am wearing a beige jacket, a really cool Ōtaki t-shirt, glasses. I have brown skin, long brown hair.
Kia ora, I'm Helen White. I am a Labourist MP based in Auckland Central. I'm wearing turquoise and I've got blonde hair.
Thank you. Okay, so welcome. If you'd like to introduce yourself, and we have 15 minutes with you, so the clock starts now. So please, if you would leave some time for questions, we'd greatly appreciate that. Thank you.
Tēnā koutou katoa. Nā mihi nui kia koutou. Ko kōti mana me airahi nā iwi. No awa kairangi ki uta ahau. E noho ana au a taputiranga in te whanganui a tara e nai anei. Ko Leo McIntyre taku ingoa. No reira, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. I'm Leo McIntyre. I'm a middle-aged white guy with greying hair, and I'm wearing what looks like a grey shirt on the screen. It has small blue dots.
Kia ora.
Thank you. So I'm here with the Disabled People's Organisations Coalition. We've been in existence in various forms since about 2010. We have a mandate under Articles 4.3 and 33 of the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. DPO organisations of, for and by disabled people and promote the rights and equity of disabled people. That's our purpose. The coalition members are the Association of Blind Citizens New Zealand, Balance Aotearoa, Deaf Aotearoa, Disabled Persons Assembly New Zealand or DPA, Muscular Dystrophy Association of New Zealand Incorporated, and People First New Zealand Ngā Tangata Tuatahi. So our position on this piece of legislation is that it is utterly inadequate to meet the needs of disabled people and the requirements of the convention. It provides no certainty that the disabled people's needs will be addressed in any particular time frame. It does nothing to ensure that disabled people will not continue to be left behind. And it creates an unnecessary bottleneck that could actually slow down progress. So we're deeply concerned. I'll now pass to my colleague Prudence to expand on those points. Thank you for your time.
Oh, kia ora, thank you.
Kia ora koutou, ko Prudence Wokatokoonga. I'm Prudence and I'm the Chief Executive of the Disabled Persons Assembly of New Zealand, a member of the DPO Coalition. As Leo has stated, the DPO Coalition does not support the bill in its current form and believes the bill should be rewritten. Over the last few years, the DPO Coalition have worked with officials and the Minister to bring this bill through to Cabinet. We supported this because we know the issues of access for disabled people must be addressed somehow. And if the Minister decided not to proceed, we could be waiting for many, many more years. In late 2001, we realised that the bill proposed was not likely to proceed with an option that would have the support of disabled people in general. On the 9th of March, we took it to the then Minister and gave our opinion that it was an inferior option. Representatives from the coalition then took their concerns with them when they attended the country review for New Zealand for the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities at the UN in Geneva. The UN committee have given a firm message that the Select Committee should work with the DPO coalition. Rather than continuing to speak of the issues with the bill, our time, and we feel yours, would be better spent starting to work on how to solve them together in honouring Article 4.3, which puts onus on both of us to work together, and we are ready. Not doing this would breach the very convention the bill is supposed to support. I believe Leo has covered our main points, and you have our written submissions. So with that, we hand over to you for questions, which Jonathan will lead us in answering, but we have other members of the coalition here in support of our submission today.
Oh, kia ora, thank you. And a good submission it was too. I have to just thank you on behalf of as an umbrella group. I think it's really useful for you to come before us like this. It's very practical and useful. Do we have any questions from the committee? Ricardo.
Yeah, kia ora koutou, and thank you, Prudence, for those comments about the message to the select committee. I mean, one of my questions regarding, ideal process in the committee, would you be recommending that once we hear submissions effectively, that we also, as a committee, pause and actually go through a separate process? And how would you mind expanding, I guess, and or whoever, Jonathan, elaborating on what you would like that process from the committee to look like in practice?
Useful.
I think it's fair to say that if you were to look through the hundreds of written submissions, you get different flavours on the same theme. Disabled people have dozens and dozens, if not hundreds to thousands, of differing issues about access. And many of those, listening to both subcommittees over the last week or three, many of those issues are coming to committee members as news. But they're not news for disabled people who have been living those lives. So it's hard to know how the Select Committee can do its utmost for disabled people when it doesn't understand disabled people as a committee and the raft of solutions that people are putting on the table and why they might or might not work. So you've heard about dozens of issues. Do we need another list of issues? Well, people like lists, but lists are only any good if people are actually going to do something about shortening the list by solving the problems that are exposed. And that's where this bill seriously falls short. There is no obligation on anyone to actually do anything other than ask for information, which is pretty trivial in the scheme of things. So I think we do need to do better than we are already doing. We have systems in place, we have advisory committees, but they aren't doing enough. Because if they were doing enough, you wouldn't have had the submissions that you have had. In terms of working together through those issues to understand them, synthesize them down, one of the advantages of the DPO coalition is that because we are diverse and come together, we have to understand each other as part of our basic operating model. And so if you as a select committee want to get broad feedback on a particular idea you have seen in submission or want to put forward, we are probably the highest quality sounding board in this country for you to work with. We can't tell you how to run your select committee. We can tell you that as a coalition, we are here to help you, but you have to ask, is our understanding. If you don't ask, you will be failing the concluding observation from the United Nations Convention. So we have every hope that you will acknowledge that you don't know what you don't know, as one of your colleagues in the other room did half an hour ago with another submitter. Acknowledge you don't know what you don't know and ask for the help from the experts to help you make this actually work for disabled people. I'll take the next question, please.
Do you have any other questions from anyone? So I do have a question. Oh, okay, Penny, you go ahead. I'll ask. Oh, and then Ricardo, and then I'll ask mine. Go, Penny.
Sorry, it took a while to get my hand up. Jonathan, I understand that you're representing a broad, as an umbrella organisation, a broad number of peoples. I am concerned. I think there is a risk of the voice of intellectually disabled people slipping through the cracks. There doesn't seem to be a similar umbrella organisation that can speak on behalf of our intellectually disabled communities. Am I correct with that? Sorry,
I think someone needs to help you out with your homework. People First is the DPO for people with learning disabilities. Most notable amongst its members would be Sir Robert Martin. So we get the experience and the benefit of hearing from people with learning disabilities, as they would prefer to call them. So yeah, we have a broad range of voices come to our table, and they are representative voices. Everyone who comes to this table was put here by other disabled people. We didn't volunteer. Well, we sort of volunteered, but we didn't volunteer with a certainty that we would be sitting here. We are here because other disabled people wanted their voice heard.
Thank you. I was speaking more from, I guess, a background of Down syndrome. Our daughter is Down syndrome, so I hadn't heard that all those organisations would be represented.
Fair enough. There would be plenty of people who would, if they wanted to bother, go back into a medical diagnosis and say it was Downs that led them to their various disabilities that bring them to People First.
Thank you.
So I'll go with the final question. So one of your comments that you've made in here is talking about and as it has many, about the decision-making bodies. And you also make the comment that while current and immediate past ministers might meet with approval of disabled people for being supportive and progressive, the future effectiveness of legislation is entirely dependent upon the commitment of future ministers, which I think is a fair and reasonable comment to make. So in terms of the minister, as you know, it's going to be built in that they are going to have to respond in the House. There will be the review, the annual review process, and also this the estimates process, select committee processes. I would be interested to know, in terms of accountability for governments, future and existing, what you would like to see in here, aside from all of the other things which I have heard you on.
The accountability of the Minister to Parliament is a great idea. That's a definite step forwards. But we have independent regulators who are equally accountable to Parliament in their various roles. The weakness of using a minister as the accountability process is that minister is beholden to cabinet.
Yeah, sure.
And in a government that wants to go on the go slow for disabled people, we will get a go slow response from a minister. Disabled people's rights ought not to be political footballs.
Sure.
Oops, bird in the house.
Oh gosh.
It's all right. It's probably more scared than I am. So disabled people's needs and rights should never be left to a group of disabled people and others as an advisory committee trying to lobby a minister. Beautiful sounding bird, but very scared and doing the windows. Should not have to lobby a minister.
Sure.
And then wait for a minister to effectively lobby cabinet so that the correct money can be put into it.
Yep.
The problems that disabled people face are well beyond the scope and direct influence of any government minister on their own. The solution that disabled people need has to be bigger than the Minister for Disability Issues.
Sure. No, okay, that I think that's a very fair and reasonable response, and also Jonathan, good work continuing to speak while there's a bird in the room. Just FYI, one of my personal freaks me out when birds are in the house, so you did really well.
The dog didn't freak out either.
Yeah.
Just one final comment. I'm going to leave you with this one as an example of where the combined voice of experience with disabled people's needs is needed in your deliberations. You've received advice, obviously, over the last week to start describing yourselves in the way you appear physically. And there are some low vision people who value that explanation, no doubt. But there is another section of the blind community who find the descriptions deeply offensive because they have been taught not to judge books by their covers. And I personally would not know how to describe myself. And I know that there are other people like that who don't want to be put in a position of having to play what they see as a game. We as a coalition have been spending years trying to marry up the wishes of competing interests like this. Disabled people are not homogeneous. The solutions we need are not homogeneous. And the trivial little bill that you've got before you sort of suggests that things might be done really easily if we just have a little committee talk about things for a while. It is not quick. We have been waiting decades for our rights, and this bill is not going to change them.
Well, and on that note, I don't think you could be any clearer. Thank you, Jonathan. I do disagree. I believe this is the beginning of something that needs to be built into parliamentary and government processes, and we need to start somewhere. So I disagree with that, but your opinion has been heard, and in fact, it is a common opinion, so I appreciate that. I do also want to thank all the other members who have come today, and I look forward to continuing the dialogue with you all around this issue. So thank you for your time today and for your submission, really useful, and also for the appendix that you've sent. If there are any notes that anyone has spoken to that they'd like to share with us, please do so as a further submission. We'd appreciate that as well. Have a good day, ka kite, and good luck getting that bird out of the house there, Jonathan. Thank you.
I think it's gone. It was huge.
Yeah, it was. Thank you.
No, it's still here.
Freaks me out, that I can tell you. All right, we have a final submitter to. Our last submitter has left, has pulled out at last minute. So we have come to the end of our select committee in public. So for those members, if you could transfer across to private, greatly appreciate that. Ka kite, thank you. Thanks for your interpreting.